Hope everyone's staying safe. Things are going good. Make sure we're staying active. Make sure we're sticking to our workouts. Make sure we're doing stuff to get better, because here's what happens. We have two options. We can sit here and wait for this to get over, the craziness to stop, and we're going to get passed up if we don't continue to work. We got to make sure that we're working. We're out working everybody. All right, so this week we're going to kind of focus on tempo, load, coil in the lower half, and stretch and fire. So what we're going to do, stretch and fire, we're going to have a PVC pipe, and this is really going to focus on our stretch. So what we're going to do, you're going to get the PVC pipe. You're going to put it directly at your back side. So all your weight is right here. We're in a deadlift position. So what we want to look for is knee over toe. We're in a good position. All of our weight is right here on this back side. So if we look right here, it's going to be right here. My chest is going to be over. We're going to be hinged at the hip. We're going to feel it through our hamstring. Knee is over toe. We're in a good athletic position. So that's how we're going to start. When we go to load, okay, so if I'm in here and this is how I start, my PVC pipe's right at the back side of my hip. What I want us to focus on is kind of getting a load in this rear hip socket. So you have this rear hip socket. You want to get this load in the rear hip socket. A lot of times what happens when we go to load, we'll load with our hands back, or we'll load all the way back here, and now we feel if I load straight back, now I'm going to go straight forward, and we don't want to do that. If I go straight back and I go straight forward, now I'm full on the change up. All my weight's on my front side. So we want to think that in this rear hip socket, I'm going to load in the rear hip socket, and now I'm going to turn the rear hip socket. Okay, so everything is loaded right here. So when I'm in this position, I'm going to load in this hip socket. Now I really feel all the load all through my hamstring, all in this hip right here. Okay, I'm going to load in here, and now I'm really going to stretch. Okay, notice that my stretch, this hip socket's just going to turn. So now I'm going to turn. So now I still feel it in my hamstring. My heel is still grounded. You're going to stretch with this core. This hip is going to pull everything else through. So the PVC pipe stays. My hands are on my PVC pipe. And now I'm just going to turn that hip socket. Heel stays on the ground. So once again, I'm going to be right here. All my weight's going to be straight down. I'm going to tempo, which means slow and controlled load. I'm going to go slow and control load in this hip socket. And now I'm going to really turn that hip socket and really get that stretch. Stretching that core. Almost like we're kind of sitting in here. We don't want to be up on our toe. A lot of times when we're hitting, you'll see, and we'll kind of go up on that toe. We don't want that. We want that rear hip socket to load and coil, and then we're going to uncoil that hip socket. My core is going to go, my upper half's going to hold, and I'm going to stretch right here. That's our stretch. So that's what I want it to look like on our stretch drill. So that's the first progression. The second one, we're just going to add a snap. So I've got it in here at my back hip. I'm feeling it. I'm going to slow coil in that rear hip socket. Coil. I'm going to rotate out. Once I get right here, rotated here, all that's going to happen is I'm going to snap that PVC pipe. Okay, so now I'm in what we call our corner. That's where we want to be. So this drill is what we call stretch and fire. So from this view right here, I'm going to be right here. I'm all in this back side. I'm in a tempo coil, turning that hip, turn that middle half. I get to this stretch. I feel that core turning. I feel my hamstring burning. Now I'm going to fire. Fire right there. So now we're going to hit our corner. That's the second progression. So that's stretch and snap, or stretch and fire. So the first one, we're stretching. All we're doing, make sure that my heels are on the ground. okay? When we go to uncoil, my heel stays on the ground. We want to really think in this core right here, okay? We don't want to be on our toe. We want to stay on this back side. So think about your rear hip socket, coiling and uncoiling right there. Those are our 2 stretch drills that we're going to focus on this week. Alright, so remember this week we're really talking about coiling that lower half, right? Stretching, tempo load. What our drill number 1 that we're going to do is called the step behind drill. So we have our T set up. I'm going to be slightly back behind. What I want us to do is we're going to start with our weight kind of on that back side. And what we're going to do is we're going to step behind. So when I step behind, it's really going to feel a coil, okay? A coil. So if I had a pocket right here on my left side, it's going to be facing that pitcher. I want you to try to keep your upper half just like you would in hitting. You're going to pull the scap. So I'm going to be pulled like I was going to pull a bow and arrow. I'm going to pull the scap, and now I'm going to land. And when I land, I want you to really focus on coiling that hip right there, uncoiling that hip and turning it, and now you're going to get through. All right? So this is what we call the step behind drill. Focused on coiling and uncoiling. Remember this rear hip, we have our hip socket, and it's going to coil and uncoil, load and unload, turn and unturn. Okay, but what we don't want is to go back and forward. We want to kind of turn it and then boom, unwind it. Now it's going to go rotate super, super, super fast. So I'm right here. Okay, my weight's going to start back. I'm going to turn back behind. Okay, so you're going to get here, turn back behind. What you want to make sure of is you're going to feel it in that hip. Pull the scap. Pocket to pitcher, come, really focus on turning that core, leaving that heel down, and now you're going to swing through. All right? On a heel here. All right, so right here, weight on the right side. I'm going to step behind. I step behind. I'm going to pull the scap, pitcher to pocket. I'm going to stay in here, and then now I'm going to get through. All right? That's what we want that to look like. That's your step behind drill. All right, guys. Next drill we have is the 2-step drill. So on the 2-step drill, just like it sounds. 1, 2. 1, 2. It's a 2-step drill. So step back drill, some might want to call it. But what we're going to focus on is when you come back, okay, I want you to already kind of have a scap load in this drill. I just want you to feel the pull, okay? As you come back, I want your pocket to go to the pitcher. Okay, so if my pitcher is right there, my pocket's going to go to the pitcher. What I want you to feel is a controlled load or coil in the rear hip. Okay, so if I'm out here, I'm going to go ahead and scap pull. I'm going to load in that hip. Load in that hip, pocket to the pitcher. Okay, you're going to feel your back. Okay, you're going to feel your core. You're going to feel your back. You're going to feel your hamstring. All right, so 2-step, go ahead and pull. Now you're going to feel the scap. You're going to feel the back. Now when you go slow in tempo, you're going to load in that rear hip, pocket to that pitcher. Now you're going to come out, and then you're going to fire through. All right, what we do not want to see on a 2-step is just loading back and going forward. Loading back and going forward. We don't want that. We want to coil. We want to get this hip and really turn it and coil it, so now we can uncoil it. And now it's going to rotate around. So if I'm right here, okay, go ahead and pull your scap. Go ahead and get in that pulled scap. You're going to control load on that hip, okay? Feel it in the hip socket, turn. Stay weight on this back side. Pocket to your pitcher, okay? Pocket to your pitcher. Now you can come out and unwind it, all right? Really feel the coil when you step. The two biggest things that I want you to think on this drill is load in that rear hip, load in your rear hip, and pocket to the pitcher. Load in the rear hip. So all your weight's on this leg right here. I'm hinged over. I'm going to load in that hip, and then I'm really going to unload that hip. Pocket to the pitcher. Load in that hip, pocket to the pitcher, unload. Let's get some power. All right, guys, next one to really work on stretch is you're going to get a band, okay? Any type of band, anything stretchy, anything that has a little bit of resistance. What you're going to do is you're going to put your right foot down on it, and then you're going to pull up. So my right foot's down on it, then you're going to pull up, and you're going to try to make that band as tight as you can, okay? I want you to feel yourself in your heels. I want you to really be on that band. What we're going to focus on, okay, is you are going to really focus on turning and stretching with that core while leaving that heel grounded as long as you possibly can. We don't want that heel to come up until you're ready to snap through it, until you're ready to fire. So on this drill, we want to keep the band as tight as we can through the entire swing. We don't want to release the band at all during this swings. So we're going to be hinged over in a good athletic stance. We're really going to work on unwinding this core. So we're going to coil in the back hip. Now we're going to uncoil in the back hip. Notice my heel's grounded, my hips or my core is turning, and then now we're going to swing through. Okay, so I'm right here. I'm going to coil in the rear, and then now my hip is going to go through. Okay, coil in the rear hip, pull in the scap. I'm going to uncoil that rear hip. My midsection, my abs are really going to turn. My core is really going to turn, and then now I'm going to get through. We can hit this off a tee, or it can be a field drill. But what we do not want to see is you coil in here. Now look, I went to my toe. When I went to my toe, what ended up happening? The band released. We don't want that to happen. We want to keep this as tight as we can. Really feel our rear hip rotating, uncoiling, my hip, my core opening up, and then I can get through right there. So core, boom, core, and then now I'm through. All right, take it off a tee, field drill. This is a great way to really feel the stretch, feel the sequence, feel how to kinetically get in sync, not allow myself to shift forward, really work my rear hip socket coiling and uncoiling. So make sure the band's tight and try not to let that band pop forward.